If you know nothing else about cells, you know that the mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. Let's now talk about why that is and what makes the mitochondria so cool. Also, why does this say mitochondrion instead of mitochondria? Good question. Okay, so mitochondria is the plural, mitochondrion is the singular. So a single mitochondrion is shown here on this diagram. Mitochondria make a molecule called adenosine triphosphate. Practice saying that several times and practice writing it out. We're going to call it ATP from here on out, but I do want you to know that ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. ATP is the molecule that the rest of the cell uses for energy. And the reason is that when a chemical bond is made, a bond between two atoms, energy is stored in that bond. And when that bond is broken, a little bit of energy is released. Cells use the energy stored in this molecule, ATP. Actually, not all of these bonds. There's so many bonds in here, but no, not all of them, just one. One bond is broken to provide a teensy bit of power, but that's enough energy to do stuff in the cell. So the reason mitochondria are important is because they make ATP, and ATP is used by the cell for energy. So here is our ATP molecule. It has 3 phosphate groups. A phosphate is a phosphorus atom surrounded by oxygens and hydrogens. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3 phosphates. So here we are. Here's our adenosine part. Here's our 1, 2, 3 phosphates. This bond between phosphate 2 and 3 is the one that's going to get broken. The mitochondrion makes this bond, sends the ATP out to the rest of the cell. The rest of the cell breaks that bond and creates a free phosphate group and a molecule called ADP. Now, if ATP is adenosine triphosphate, ADP is adenosine diphosphate, di meaning 2. So now we only have 2 phosphates left. So we have ADP. Now, if we put the phosphate that broke off, if we put it back on, then we got 3 phosphates again, and we have ATP again. So that's what the mitochondria do. They take these 2 things, they put them together to create this thing. That happens in a process called cellular respiration, which we will talk about at the very end of the semester. We're going to learn all about it. It's actually really cool. Okay. Other things that are special about the mitochondria. They have a double membrane. I'm not sure what happened, why I lost my space here. Anyway, double membrane should have a space between it. So there's 2 phospholipid bilayers. There's an inner layer. This is the inner layer here, this yellow one, and then the outer layer here, which is the orange one. In between those 2 is called the intermembrane space. I know, clever. It's the space between the membrane, and inter means between. And then inside the inner membrane, this blue part, that's called the matrix or the mitochondrial matrix. So that's the part, the innermost part of the mitochondria. Because mitochondria make ATP, there are a lot of them in cells that do stuff a lot. So your heart cells, your muscle cells, your digestive cells, those are all going to have lots and lots of mitochondria. Your fat cells do not have a lot of mitochondria because they don't do anything except store fat. Okay? But your muscle cells, lots of mitochondria so that they can move those muscles. Other things about mitochondria that are a little weird. They have their own DNA and it's a little circle, just like prokaryotic cells. They also have their own ribosomes, just like prokaryotic cells. That's more evidence that a mitochondrion at some point, 1.2 billion years ago, was engulfed by a predatory cell, a predatory prokaryotic cell, and ended up living inside that cell. And then when that cell reproduced, the mitochondrion also reproduced, and they ended up living like that and becoming a new type of cell. This video here, I'm not going to show it to you. Please watch it on your own. It's a very good representation of this process, which we call endosymbiotic evolution of eukaryotic cells. Now, one other thing about mitochondria, remember I said when we were looking at the egg cell that the egg cell has all the cytoplasm. And so all of the cellular stuff comes from the egg, not the sperm. The sperm brings a nucleus, and that's all it really needs to do. So all your mitochondria, also all your smooth endoplasmic reticulum, your rough endoplasmic reticulum, your Golgi apparatus, your ribosomes, not the ones in the mitochondria, but the other ones, all of that stuff came from the egg. So this says, Mom, you gave me something Dad never could, and it's a little mitochondrion. Notice that I have a little asterisk here. It turns out that actually sometimes sperm do have viable mitochondria in them still when they meet the egg. And so there actually are some sperm that come from Dad, but most of them don't. Most of the mitochondria come from the egg. But we used to say it was completely nothing comes from the sperm. That's not true anymore. Yeah, we actually found out that's not true. Anyway, fun times with science. Okay, up next, we're going to talk about the roads and bridges inside the cell.